Hey, it's Jack, no K, Jack in the Attic. And I have been posting knitting videos on YouTube for 1 year today. So I want to do a long, chatty, sit down, knit and chat video. However, this is not the project I'm going to be knitting on during this video. I'm just getting the needles to the middle so I can take the thumbnail picture. And then I'm switching to my other project and we'll talk about that. So while I'm finishing up this row, here's all of the vlogging I've done over the last couple of weeks, and then we'll meet back here to talk about 1 year on YouTube. We're here. We're here. So I didn't warn you before the clips from the Ethnic Enrichment Festival that I cut my bangs. It's just too hot. I let my bangs get too long because I just forgot I could cut them. Not that I forgot I could personally cut them. I've been cutting my own hair for 15 years, but I forgot they could be cut. They're not curled right now, so I feel like it's giving coconut head, but it's 96 degrees. I'm not doing this. So it's Sunday, I'm just hanging out. I am working on my Pete wrap. I added an extra yarn over 3 rows back, so I'm knitting backwards right now. That's it. Okay, 3 or 4 things real quick. I know I haven't stood over here to film since Tour de Fleece, but it's the only place that there's like any natural lighting. It's fine. So the tank top that I've been knitting, the like tunic length or dress length tank top, tank dress, it's gotten pretty long. It is definitely officially tunic length, and I have more yarn yet to go, so it could definitely be dress length. However, I took it off the cable, put it on a cord, and tried it on, and I hate it. I hate it. I think the fit is wrong and bad, and there are like 1 or 2 things I could do to try to fix it, but I think what I'm going to do instead is frog it. I've had a few days to think about it now since I tried it on, and I'm just gonna frog it. I am. I'm not stoked to be adding yarn to my stash at this point, but this is a yarn that I know and love and use all the time, so it's not the biggest deal. I know I will use this yarn. It's Hobbii Twister Solid, by the way. So, bummer, but like, whatever. I'm not gonna let it sit around in the bag while I come to terms with frogging it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm not feeling very strongly about this thing anyway. But that does free up some space for me to knit another little thing that fits in my little travel bag. And there's been a pattern that I bought months ago and talked about even before that I have wanted to knit, and now I finally have time to do that, and that is the Eve Shrug. I should have frogged the tank top before casting it on, but it's too late. So I've knit this much. It is going pretty quickly. It's knit on 5mm needles, so it's gonna be, I think, pretty quick to whip up. And I am knitting it with DK, it calls for worsted, but I was kind of hoping for like a light, kind of breezy fabric, and I think this is gonna do that. This is Kobu, which is the same yarn I knit my sort of freestyle raglan sleeves several months ago with, so I know this makes like a nice, comfy, not too hot fabric, and it's still really warm here. And I like to wear, you know, a lightweight little top layer throughout most of the year. So that's my goal here. That's my goal here. The only thing I've changed so far, it's really early to be making changes, but for the ribbing at the neck, I did go down like 0.5 millimeter needle size just because I thought that made sense. And even now the ribbing kind of still looks big, but I know this yarn shrinks and I'm trying to account for that. With the shrinkage in mind, gauge, we're good. I will obviously keep you updated on how this goes. Another thing, in my last video, we talked about my mini minder struggles. Several people pointed out that it needs to swivel and that maybe it needs a thing that does this. It has that. I swear it has that. I think my hand was covering it, and so that confused some people. But I do think maybe mine just doesn't turn so well, and so that would be an easy thing to either replace or to put one between these pieces, right? So that would be like a cheap and easy fix that I might try. The other thing that people pointed out is that it works better if you put it on the opposite arm from the hand you hold your working yarn with, so that the yarn pulls out instead of up. And that makes so much sense. I haven't tried it yet, but I think just the physics of it makes a lot more sense. So I'm absolutely going to be trying that, like right now, like very soon. I'll check back with you and let you know how that goes. But yeah, thank you to everyone who helped me kind of brainstorm solutions to this, because I like it. I really want it to work for me, you know? Again, I don't think it's a bad product or built wrong. I think it's just not working for me. So having it on the opposite arm sounds like it's probably the solution. We'll see. The other thing, I've been working on my Peat wrap a lot, and I think in my last check-in I said it was about like waist high or a little bit higher. So let me show you where it's at now. Okay, so it's barely grazing the floor. It's about collarbone height. So we're almost there, just a few inches away. And I swear every time I sit down to work on this, and I did finally memorize the 8-row repeat, by the way. I said I couldn't, and then I immediately did. Yeah, it took a long time for me to memorize it. I probably could have tried harder. But I can officially do this without looking at the pattern. That means if you are not me, you probably could have figured it out by like here. But I am me, so I didn't. And that's not necessarily a dig at myself. I don't really care. I just have multiple patterns going on at one time, so I don't know. But I've been working on this one long enough that it just finally stuck without trying. So if you tried, it would be a lot faster. Anyway, oh, what I was saying, I swear every time I sit down to work on the Peat wrap, I'm going through like 2 to 3 repeats of the 8-row repeat minimum. It's like very fast. Also 5mm needles, so probably a big part of why it goes so quickly. It feels like such a treat to be knitting multiple things on 5mm needles. I think larger needles kind of make my hands sore. It's not like a lasting harm, it just kind of makes my hands sore. I roll them out on my rubber peanut and I'm good to go. I've talked about the peanut before, but if I just say peanut with no context, I'll get it. I roll them out on my peanut, you know, like this, except on a surface. Don't ask me where to get this. I have had it for years and I don't remember. I've had pen ink on my hand this whole time. No one told me. Anyway, that's my update for today. You already know this because you've seen the intro of this video. I didn't know that this was just going to be a video of me doing whatever. I've decided. Because what says I've been on YouTube for 1 calendar year more than I'm just gonna do whatever. I like it when I just do whatever, and other people like it when I just do whatever. How do we feel about Waluigi being here? See you in my next update. Okay, ignore all the millions of stitch markers. I gave my Vivica cardigan a very early mid-project block to see if this little ridge was gonna block out, and the answer is kind of. It was bothering me, and it's bothering me much less. However, I ordered some alpaca lace to see if holding my hand spun yarn double with that helps and just makes this yarn a little less sparse compared to the ribbing yarn. So now I'm waiting on that, delaying everything, which is fine because it's 96 degrees. I can delay this. Okay, I'm doing it. I think it works. Well, okay. I think it's about 30% better this way. And I know 30 doesn't sound like a lot, but for a problem that was not a huge problem, 30's fine. 30's plenty. I think 30% better is enough that I no longer am annoyed by it, you know? It still will like wrap around this part once, but then I yank it and it fixes itself. So still more yanking than I'd like to do, which is 0. That's a brand new sentence, I think. But again, I think this resolves enough of the tangling that I think it's fine. I think it's fine now. That's my update. I don't have it with me at the moment, so I'm just going to talk about it for a second. My cropped cabled cardigan, the Vivica cardigan that I'm knitting as a buddy knit with my fiber friend Irma, it's on pause right now. I have determined that the yarn I'm using for the ribbing is just a little bit thicker than the yarn I spun. Like, they both are technically DK, but it's a little weird. It's a little weird. Doing a very early in the project, mid-project block helped, and I know I showed you that earlier. So just imagine that. And using that single ply lace weight solid black yarn to fill in and hold double in the areas where I spun the yarn way too thin works really well. It is a lot of ends to weave in, but it works really well. However, I am going to frog what I have knit of the body so far. I'm not going to frog the ribbing. The ribbing's fine. And I'm going to hold it double with lace weight the entire way through. I have a different lace weight black yarn on its way in the mail. Thankfully, it made it to the US before tariffs went into place, so I'm saying that now on August 20th. So if the tariffs don't actually happen, you know that, but I don't. Right now, I am in the midst of all of these yarn companies posting on social media about how they are about to pause shipping to the US at all. So that's where my mind is at. For you, it's the 31st or later. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, see, what in the world? What is that even tangled around? Oh. I think that was my fault. Anyway, I got some lace weight alpaca, sirens in the background. If you want to make YouTube videos, just don't live somewhere where there are a bunch of sirens all the time. I got enough yarn, enough of this lace weight alpaca to knit the entire body, and I think that's gonna do it. I think the slight halo of alpaca, little bit fuzzy yarn is going to fill in those gaps. I think it's not going to cover the color too much. I think it's gonna work. I will obviously swatch before I commit and undo all the work I've done. And is there like a 20% chance that I hate it and this ends up being even more yarn in my stash? Yes, but it's solid black lace weight alpaca. It's gonna get used regardless. I'm pretty sure it's gonna work, just based on how the plain wool single ply lace weight I've been using looks with the yarn. I think it's gonna work. I have like a good feeling, and I rarely have that, so yes, fingers crossed, but I have no reason to think it won't work. Okay, I'm gonna keep working on this. I'm on my break. It's a Wednesday, that's all. Little lady check. Confirmed, little lady. Okay, this is barely an update, but I'm dressed, kind of. I've not made a ton of progress. I'm here. So this was my first like lunch break and then evening of knitting. I did absolutely lose track of what was going on with the increases at some point, and there's a spot where it looks really weird, but luckily I can't find it at the moment, so maybe it doesn't look that weird. Oh, I couldn't hear. I'm dressed because I want to get groceries, and I want to get groceries because I've been in a horrible chronic illness flare for the last 4 days, and I'm finally, like, I feel like I have enough energy to do an errand today, so I figured why not put on eyebrows about it, right? Okay, now I'm all the way dressed, and one cool thing about being sedentary for multiple days in a row is that if you wash your hair at the beginning and you put it in braids and then you take it out on day 4, it'll look kind of good. Okay, the cat is yelling at me. I have to leave. Yeah. I have to show you this before I frog it because I need these 5mm needles back, but my partner can apparently just knit. It took like 5 minutes of teaching, and then my partner knit 2 rounds, like basically unassisted, and I'm so impressed. I kind of don't want to frog this. Okay, good morning. I realized a little too late, actually, that my look is a little dramatic for the morning. I just got back from the gym. I am honestly testing foundation samples to see if sweat proof was true. I'll let you know how that goes. I feel like I look kind of yellow. More importantly, knitting update. On the Eve Shrug, last night I finished the raglan increase section. So today I'm moving on to separating the sleeves. And this is what that looks like. Remember how I was so sure I messed up somewhere along the raglan increases? This looks perfectly fine to me. Can we find the error? Is it here? Yes, found it. I finally found it. Okay. Yeah, I was just off count at some point, and I think in trying to fix it, made a worse error of moving where the increases are happening, because they were happening here and then they started happening over here. That's not my proudest moment. I'm absolutely not going back to fix that though. Something that's on the back of my right shoulder. If you're looking at that, don't. I feel like I'm taking a lot of time to scrutinize my color match. Up here, it's too yellow. Down here, it matches perfectly. So what does that mean? We have shade matches that are specific to my altitude now. What is that? I will see you later. It's Friday, so I'm gonna get a bunch of stuff done. My tracking number from Hobie was like, ooh, it's in New York. It's gonna be delivered on Saturday. Don't even worry. And then it hasn't moved. It's at least in the US. We talked about that, I think 2 days ago, and it hasn't moved. So the message I sent to Irma that was like, my yarn's gonna get here, so I won't be holding us up for too much longer. Don't even worry, everything's cool. USPS is calling me a liar. I assume there are a bunch of shipping delays going on right now because everyone is shipping everything at once to try to avoid the mess of what's coming. I've talked about so much non-knitting so far today. It's Friday. That means tonight I'm gonna have a lot of knitting time. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a lot of knitting time. And then Sunday I'm meeting a friend for coffee and knit in the park. So a lot of knitting time. Anyway, this yarn continues to be super soft. I know this yarn gets kind of scraggly quickly, but I do not mind that. This is another one of those things that I think goes with my faded black linen. It's that color. It's that shade of black that it goes with my faded black linen. We've talked about this. Okay, see you later. What's up, gamers? This is the weirdest angle ever. I'm sitting in the car. I'm knitting. Don't look at my trash. Okay, trash situation handled. I'm onto the sleeve. I have knit this much sleeve. The other thing I did was go to Michael's and pick up my custom framing order. I just had this dry mounted on foam. When you have something of like poster or cardstock thickness dry mounted, you can just hang it up like this, and I really like to do that. It looks a lot nicer than just like thumbtacking it to the wall, but it looks a lot less heavy than a big framed piece. I think eventually I will get a frame for this, probably something like kind of thin and light. But for now, I can just put this up with command strips on the back and it looks nice. We have several pieces in our home just dry mounted on foam board from Michael's. Those are my big updates for today. Tomorrow, I'm gonna sit down and talk through all of the questions I got on my Instagram story where I asked if anyone wanted to see anything specific for my 1-year anniversary video. So that's the plan. That may or may not be my last update for today, who knows? Okay, see ya. Tee hee hee. I love it. I had to weave in, sorry if you can hear the dryer in the background, I had to weave in 20 ends because the 3 cakes of Kobu I had minimum 5 factory knots. I stopped counting at some point. But it's done and it's cute and I love it. I had to make sure I didn't accidentally make the sleeves the length I wanted them to be and not account for shrinking in the dryer. So I made them a little extra long for a little more like poof. And I'm very glad I did. It worked out perfectly. Later in the video, you're gonna see me working on this And in that part of the video, I don't know that I'm already gonna finish this. I don't usually film things out of order, so this is all weird for me. A completely unrelated thing I've been thinking about is that many videos ago, months ago, I essentially made a joke without making any indication with my face or tone of voice that I was making a joke. A thing I love to do. Do I love to do it or do I just do it? A thing I do often. I am aware that the internet's favorite topic is arguing about whether or not Depeche Mode is goth. And I'm aware that the answer is technically no, but I think it's funny to say it anyway. And I didn't get a single comment about it, and I didn't realize until just now that no one said anything about it. And that's fine. That just means y'all are normal and nice. However, I'm gonna try again. Let's argue about this in the comments. Number one goth band of all time is Pet Shop Boys. Okay. Another unrelated thing. I'm going to an event tonight. Like as a YouTuber. So what a fun way to commemorate my 1-year anniversary on YouTube, which is not actually today for me, but it's the day that this video is posted. You will see it in this video. It'll be the next thing that I show you. There is a craft cafe in my town and they're opening a second location. And just to be extremely honest and transparent, they put out a call on Instagram for like media and influencers. And I looked at that. Cat's here. I looked at that and I'm like, is that me? Crafting is my niche. The post said RSVP at this email address, so I sent an email and I said, me? And 5 minutes later, they were like, you! Are you bringing a +1? And I am, so I think it'll be really fun. I can't wait to show you. That's all. Welcome to the Tiny Microphone Zone. We're at Zone of Rosa, walking to ADHDIY, the Craft Cafe, new location. I keep saying Zone of Rosa. It's Zona Rosa. I just think Zone of Rosa is funny. Don't worry about it. So just to read directly from the ADHDIY blog for a moment, this craft cafe offers a wide range of do-it-yourself tutorials, project ideas, and supplies for purchase, all tailored to cater to individuals with ADHD. The goal is to create a space where everyone, regardless of their learning style, can feel welcome and inspired to create beautiful crafts. What sets this craft cafe apart is their commitment to inclusivity and accessibility. They provide both visual and verbal instructions for their crafts, ensuring that individuals with different learning preferences can easily follow along. So this is restaurant-style crafting, is what they call it. And that's true. They bring you a menu with a ton of different craft options, and then the other side also has snacks and drinks. I had this apple pie kombucha, which was great. We decided to try the junk journal. We wanted to work on one together. I do wish I had brought more things to put in the junk journal, but we knew we could take it home and keep working on it. Overall, I think this is a really cool and unique idea, and I can't wait to go back. Hey, what's up? Okay, so we genuinely just had a good time. I'm not like getting paid for this or anything. It was free, but we loved it and we're going back. So nice. I should clarify that though we did get to go to ADHDIY for free, there was no like posting requirement or anything. We just genuinely had a really good time. And we know I love a local business, so, you know, full disclosure, thought that was important to say. But yeah, if you're in the area, it's a really cool way to try out a craft without having to commit to buying a lot of supplies, hence the name. So nice, very happy to have had the opportunity to go. Also, I finally finished my chicken. I'm very happy with it. That's really all I have to show you today. What's on my face? There's always a piece of black fuzz on me. Anyway, I'm gonna be gifting this guy today. I put this on, I didn't put this on. I just couldn't make it look right, so I gave up. But I think it's still really cute. I like how the body is huge and the head is small. It's accurate to chickens. Someone asked for a formal introduction to the cat. I would love to do that right now. Let's see if she wants to participate. This is Lyra, who doesn't like to be held so much. Yeah. Okay, I put her back down. But that's Lyra, my partner's cat. My partner has had her for in between 10 and 13 years. We're afraid to calculate the real number, I think. So she's kind of an old baby lady in that she is a newborn child, and she's also my grandmother, and she is a full-grown adult woman, and she is my human child. So that's my stepdaughter. She's from the trash. Did I say that? She's from the trash. Her favorite toy is Circle and grocery bag. And here's what I found under the couch today. Two mice. Lesbian mice. Duck. Bat. Unicorn. Pride mouse. Bisexual mouse. And Lamb Chop, who is... Lamb Chop needs surgery. Anyway, Lyra is named after Melira, Magic the Gathering. She's literally just small. But you didn't imagine that. Everyone thinks she's younger than she is. I have asked her to drop the skincare routine. She will not cooperate. So just finishing up this row, I honestly would love to have this done by the end of the month. And this video is going up on the last day of the month. If I do happen to finish this, it will be an addendum. You'll see it at the very end. I'm not making any promises. I don't know how likely that is since I'm working on another project that I'm focusing on a little bit more. As we know, this is a very long-term project, the Peat Wrap by Witching Hour Knits. It's a test knit. I don't have the pattern to share with you yet, but I will. Probably early next year or later this year. So first of all, the creepy carnival music is back by popular demand. If you didn't watch the Tour de Fleece videos, and by the way, it's fine. You don't have to watch Tour de Fleece videos. That's a niche within a niche within a niche. It's fine. However, you missed one specific thing, which is that I think it's very funny to cut in tiny bits of this creepy circus music during any lull. And I thought that was going to be just a joke for me. I thought everyone was going to get annoyed by that. But I'm getting demands to bring back the circus music, and I am so happy to oblige. So while I continue to work on my Eve shrug, which is coming along nicely. It's kind of a mess right now, just a tangle, and that's why I didn't want to use it for the thumbnail picture. Plus, black knitting in front of me wearing black everything, black hair. So I finished the first sleeve last night. I gave it an extra, like, inch because I know it's going to shrink when I inevitably put it in the dryer. I'm going to. We know this. But yeah, it's nice and balloony. It's nice and soft and comfy. Very, very happy with it. So I'm starting the second sleeve now, and then all that's left is the ribbing along the bottom, I'm pretty sure. And I will also be taking this to a little 2-person knitting circle I'm doing this afternoon with a friend. I don't know, I may have a good bit of this done by the evening. I have talked about being a sleeve hater, and here I go knitting something that's just sleeves. For not even the first time. So, I've been posting on YouTube for 1 year. I posted on my Instagram story, hey, this is coming up. Is there anything in particular you would like to see for my anniversary video? And a lot of the responses I got were actually questions, so I feel like I can just go through these things and cover almost everything instead of picking one idea and doing that for the video. Because if there is one thing I have learned, if there are 2 things I have learned from posting on YouTube for a year, my most popular videos are always going to be in the genre of goth knitting. They're always going to be pattern compilations. And my second most popular video, the thing that people specifically request the most, other than, will you make a crochet version of this video, which I won't, the second most requested thing is long, chatty videos. So that didn't really line up with what I said about learning 2 things. I learned 1 thing and it has 2 parts. And I didn't learn anything else. I'm just kidding. So let's go through these. Some of them are going to require me to get up and leave the room and come back, and that's fine. I don't have time to go through every single one, unfortunately, but let's do as many as possible. So some of them are definitely not an option, like yarn stash video. I plead your finest 5th. No thank you. Honestly, I just don't want to be such a bad influence. Waiting for the loudest cars in the world to pass. Speaking of bad influence, yes, this is a Starbucks cup, but it's from like 6 years ago. The last time I went to a Starbucks was to stand in their picket line. Anyway, if you have any questions about where my loyalties lie, it's solidarity forever. Anyway, while a yarn stash video would take the entire length of a video, and it's a great idea if I ever really run out of ideas, I don't want to be the person who convinces you to go out and buy more yarn. Do I watch those videos? Absolutely I do. I have nothing against them. Another suggestion was to remake my first project and compare to my skills now to see how much I have grown. And I don't know what my first project was, nor would I have enough time in between posting the Instagram story and posting this video, most likely. It's entirely possible that the first real crochet project I made was a pot holder. And if you want to see my pot holder, I will go get the pot holder. It's gross because I've been using it for many years, and it's stained and it's melted because it's acrylic yarn. As we know, don't make pot holders out of acrylic yarn because it can melt and hurt you very badly. Do I still use this? At every possible opportunity, yes. Here's the raggedy old pot holder I made several years ago out of some basic anti-pilling acrylic from Joann, and someday it's gonna burn me. Next request, showing off all the things you've knitted. No. Thank you for your interest, though. My favorite projects from the last year, that might be more doable. That might be more doable. I'll run around and grab some things. rapid fire some of my favorite things I've made this year. The cropped version of the cardigan I'm wearing, based off a free pattern from Your Inspirations, but I have a tutorial video on how to make it the way I made it. It's this X stitch. You've seen it, you know it. The Luna Moth shawl by Knitting Nakabi, one of my favorite big pieces I've ever made. And these two I grabbed because I saw them, and I saw them because they're out and visible all the time because I wear them all the time. The Pottery Slipover, and a new favorite, my striped cardigan. I'm forgetting a million things, but I'm running out of time. And then, I love the media you mention in vlogs. Are there movies you rewatch for fall/Halloween? There absolutely are. I do love horror movies. I had a pretty extensive horror phase in my adolescence and teens and young adult years, and I only say that because it did break for a few years when my anxiety was just too high to consume horror media, and now I'm kind of on the other side of that. So, biphasic horror enjoyer. However, for the spooky season, I do tend to rewatch more like family-friendly things. I always rewatch Hocus Pocus, I always rewatch Addams Family and Addams Family Values, although last year we delayed watching the Addams Family Values for many, many months and watched it this summer instead because it is a summer movie. Things like that. So I kind of spread out my horror movie consumption throughout the year and then watch the really Halloween themed movies on Halloween and the days right around it. September and October I do watch a lot more movies than I do the rest of the year. Let me go through my Letterboxd from last September and October. It's kind of looking like this actually started in June of last year, because in June I watched, I watched Godzilla -1, but that is unrelated. Sleepy Hollow, X, The Babadook, and Pearl. Part of why I watched X and Pearl is because Maxine was coming out the next month, and in July I did watch Maxine and The First Omen, and I did also watch Moulin Rouge, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, and The Founder, and Willy's Wonderland. In August, I watched Paranormal Activity Next of Kin, which I remember falling asleep during in the first 20 minutes, and I slept through the rest of it. So, good nap movie. Escape Room, which stressed me out. Kong Skull Island, unrelated. The Conjuring and Immaculate. I love a nun movie. A nun horror movie. Catholic horror. I'm into it. September, Beetlejuice, The Addams Family, The Nun, and Terrifier, which I hated. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I hated it. I don't want to get into it. I'm not gonna tell you the reasons why. If you like it, I'm happy for you. Truly. Okay, here's October. This is what we were all waiting for. Here's what I watched in October. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Hold Your Breath, Trick or Treat, The House at the End of the Street, Dream Scenario, Mr. Crockett, fantastic by the way, Spirit Halloween the movie, I hadn't seen it, Apostle, Halloween 2018, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, underrated, very good movie, surprisingly good, especially for a PG-13 movie, The Haunting in Connecticut, Hocus Pocus, and Hubie Halloween, which I watch every year on Halloween, not because it's good, but because every year I have a reason to force someone to watch it. So yeah, October I watch a lot of movies, and I figured instead of describing my interests, which are so non-specific, really, I will try a lot of things. Instead of describing my interests, I'll just give you the list. Hopefully that worked. However, my willingness to watch any horror movie led me to watch The Haunting of Queen Mary earlier this month. What a massive waste of time. What a giant letdown that was. Horrible. Usually, especially with horror media, I don't regard it as good or bad. It's either I liked it or I didn't like it. But The Haunting of Queen Mary was actually just bad. Back to the questions. Do you have current trusted exercises for repetitive motion injuries? I don't think I can, like, safely give you exercises that will definitely work for everyone. I don't think I'm the right person to do that. However, I do absolutely 100% recommend seeking those out from someone more qualified than me, because I think they have really saved my wrists. I have tendonitis in both wrists. You'll notice this wrist doesn't bend further down than this. I have a ganglion cyst in this wrist. I've had tendonitis since I was 17, something like that. Joint pain for me started very young. I do have an autoimmune disease like we've talked about. So, physical therapy and personal training also helped me so much with my joint issues. So sorry, this is kind of a vague answer. I don't have specific exercises to recommend to you, but I do absolutely recommend wrist and just upper body in general exercises for conditioning so that you can continue to enjoy crochet and knitting long term. Another what I made in a year, that might be something I do at the end of the year. I do really enjoy doing those recap videos. I genuinely just miss the appropriate time to film and post them most of the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and commit to next month posting what I made in spring and summer, because I think that's what my first video was. It's everything I knit in spring and summer. So let's revisit that. I'll do that next month as its own dedicated video. What brings you the most joy in your crafting is a great question. I haven't knit. Oh my gosh, I haven't been knitting. I put my project down and just forgot to knit anything. So there's a lot of talk about process versus product knitting and crocheting and all types of different creative, artistic endeavors. I do think I'm both. I have to be knitting pretty much all the time. I don't know what to do with my hands if I'm not. If I am a passenger in a car and I don't have a project with me, I will just be anxious and annoying to the driver. If I am watching TV or a movie and I don't have a project in my hands, I will get distracted. I will do anything but watch the thing that I'm trying to watch. This is really a focus tool for me. But it's also something I just enjoy the process of. But I'm at a place in my life now where almost every day I wear something that I made. And I cannot tell you how great that feels. So being able to know that a lot of my wardrobe is made by me, I think without going into too much detail, it makes me feel like I'm living at least closer to my beliefs and my ethics. I don't talk about this much, but I swore off fast fashion in 2020. So the things I own that I didn't make, I mostly thrifted. I do a lot of eBay. That's a big part of what I enjoy about crafting, is that it's all in my hands. Obviously, yarn comes from somewhere. So it's not like I have 100% seized the means of production. And it's not like I'm knitting all plastic free, all 100% like traceable everything, but I feel like I'm doing my best within my means, especially as a chronically ill person with limited energy, you know. What you're most excited to knit in your queue/favorites this year. Favorites this year, we talked about. So what I'm most excited to knit, genuinely, I'm very excited to have this finished. That's the product knitter in me. I want to wear this so bad. I'm stoked to knit the cropped cabled cardigan that is currently paused while I wait for my lace weight yarn to come in so that I can restart the body. So I'm very excited for that one. I have another cardigan plan. When I saw the writing on the wall and knew Joanne was leaving us, I purchased a large amount of a newer yarn from Big Twist at the time, which was their sock wool. It is a sport weight yarn. I bought several of the brown and several of the black, and I am intending to knit a very long vertical striped cardigan with that. It's the Big Twist sock wool. If Michaels picks this up, I'm in big trouble. It's so soft. It's regular sock yarn, except it's sport weight instead of fingering. It's the 75-25 of exactly what you think. I'm very excited about that. I think about it every day. Also, my ongoing investigation into non-standard sock patterns. I'm still excited about that. I don't even have socks on the needles right now, and I'm thinking about socks. Can you share a backstory about the name Jack in the Attic? Absolutely. I have been wanting to talk about this, actually. So I picked that username before I knew I was going to post anything, before I knew anyone was going to watch, before I thought anyone would care. I have had that as my Instagram username for years. I really was just trying to come up with something that was my name and the vibe of like a little bit creepy in like a vintage or antique-y sense. So I'm like, what, you know, where would you find some sort of haunted doll or something along that type of vibe? And I'm like, oh, a creepy attic. I feel like my vibes give more creepy attic than creepy basement. So Jack in the Attic. And I don't know, it just kind of rolls off the tongue. That is the whole explanation. Vibes, and I think it sounds nice. Do you have opinions on knitting needle brands and type of needle material? Broadly, no. I think different materials are good for different types of yarn. I think as far as people having different preferences, different materials will play into that as well. I am not brand loyal even a little bit. I have my metal needles are a set from Knit Picks, but I purchase compatible, like I'm knitting with one shorty 5mm and one regular size. I need the longer one in my left hand, otherwise it just takes me so much longer to knit. I don't know why. So I will mix and match as long as they are compatible, and I don't care. I started with, well, technically, I guess I started with like plastic straight needles in random sizes that I would use to knit endless scarves at completely random gauges with whatever yarn I found. I'm talking about like as a young child. But my first interchangeable set of needles was the Clover Bamboo interchangeable set. I asked for that for my birthday, but I, along with that request, sent a link to a 60% off coupon. I'm like, please don't buy this unless you use the coupon. They're too expensive otherwise. Do I have any feelings about anything anyone else uses? Not at all. showing off some of your favorite completed knit and crochet pieces. Kind of talked about that already. I'm filming all of the sitting down talking piece all in one, and then I'm gonna run around my house and grab all of these things and show you, so it's gonna be all spliced together weird. Your favorite yarn in your stash right now? That's a great question. Here's me from 10 minutes from now. Favorite yarn in my stash right now is actually maybe kind of a surprise. It is this Malabrigo Primavera. I just love. It's like kind of moody spring, it's Primavera, springy kind of muted colors. I think this rules. I'm making socks out of this. My neighbor has started their daily routine of hammering on something off and on every 30 seconds all day. So I'm gonna have to start wrapping this up. I do want to talk about the future of the channel a little bit. I think when people say the words, the future of this channel, it tends to freak people out because it usually means something bad, like a drastic change in direction or even leaving. I'm not planning on doing any of those. I am, in fact, not intending to change literally anything, except for maybe being more explicit that I will not redo a video I have already done with crochet patterns instead of knitting patterns. It either already has crochet patterns, if that was the intent, or it's never going to. Do not ask. I would say that in the future I intend to have stronger boundaries as far as like the comments I'm willing to engage with, but I think I have had pretty clear and strong boundaries this entire time. I have received exactly 2 awful comments, and they were not about me. They were about my choice to include only size-inclusive patterns. 2 people said some nasty things about that, and I did talk shit about them specifically in a video pretty soon after. So I'm glad I did that, genuinely, because no one has tried me since then, honestly. And I'm a little bit sorry to say this, but I am going to keep using the hide user from channel button pretty liberally. I try to see things from other people's point of view as often as possible. I try to be pretty empathetic. I've had a tendency in the past to assume negative intentions. And while I think working on that is a net positive for me and hopefully the world, I am not the right type of person to have a large audience on YouTube. And yet here I am. And I somehow have the kindest comment section on the entire internet. I have made several people who I would genuinely call my friends through the fiber community online. And I am not only doing, but keeping up with and improving at something I never thought I would do. This. So that is the intention for the coming year, is to keep a balance between cultivating community and keeping a healthy level of not tolerating things I don't need to tolerate. So if you've made it this far in the video, thank you, because I see the number at the top of the screen right now. I know how long this video is. And thank you for sticking with me through the last year. Hopefully my editing skills only get better. Hopefully my audio quality only gets better. Everything else is staying exactly the same. And on that note, have I mentioned that you should take care of your joints and stretch and rest and take breaks? And have I mentioned that you should go and live your best yarny life? you should do those things. Anyway, I'm off to knit the same thing in a different place, and I will see you next time.